So we just talked about any belief, any scheme of combating our alcoholism that proposes to shield me from the temptation, which is the idea of drinking, is going to fail. So our rule is to not avoid a place where there's drinking if we have a legitimate reason for being there. That includes bars, nightclubs, dances, receptions, weddings, even plain ordinary whoopee parties. What is that? To a person who has had experience with an alcoholic, this may seem like tempting providence, but it isn't so. You will note that we made an important qualification. Therefore, ask yourself on each occasion, here's your inventory question, have I any good social, business, or personal reason for going to this place? Or am I expecting to steal a little vicarious pleasure from the atmosphere of such places, or maybe get laid? Depending on where you are in this recovery process. If you answer these questions satisfactorily, you need have no apprehension. Go or stay away, whichever seems best. But be sure you're on solid ground before you start, and that your motive, the ideas that are informing your decision in going, is thoroughly good. Do not think of what you'll get out of the occasion. Think of what you can bring to it. See, they always got us in a giving posture. But if you're shaky, you better work with another alcoholic instead. What if you don't have another alcoholic to work with? What if you're 3 months sober? Call someone in your meeting. Call someone on the phone list. Start working the phone list. Come back out here to a meeting. Go to a meeting. Put a tape in. Put a CD in. Listen to something. Put some different ideas in your head. But don't sit alone with your thinking. Why sit with a long face in places where there's drinking, sighing about the good old days? Ah, yeah. The split lips. The drunk tank. The car chases. The accidents. Yeah. The good old days. If it's a happy occasion, try to increase the pleasure of those there. If a business occasion, go and attend to your business enthusiastically. If you're with a person who wants to eat in a bar, by all means go along. Let your friends know they're not to change their habits on your account. At a proper time and place, explain to all your friends why alcohol disagrees with you. If they're your friends, they're going to know you've had a problem. And you get well, and you're going to go out, you're going to lunch or whatever, and you know, Jack always orders a Heineken with lunch. And you go out, and Jack goes, oh, no, I'll have a Coke. That's okay. No, you can have your beer. You can have your beer. It doesn't affect me. You can have your beer. If it's affecting me, I need to get on the horn to my sponsor and talk about that. But if it's making me thirsty, that's a problem. But it's not, if you need to drink, if you want to drink, drink. That's all. It's fine. It's not going to affect me one way or the other. So explain to your friends why alcohol disagrees with you. You can explain. I found out I'm an alcoholic. I got this reaction to alcohol that most of you don't have, and I'm going somewhere. I'm hanging out with some guys that have the problem too, and it's solved in them, and I'm hopeful that it's going to be solved in me, and we're okay. If you do this thoroughly, few people will ask you to drink. Here's another tell. You're out with your buddies, and it's like, oh, come on. You can have one beer. Those are not your friends. Those are your drinking buddies, but they're not your friends. When I got sober, when you get sober, and the guys you run with, it scares the hell out of the people that are still drinking because they drank with us. And they go, well, if Roger's an alcoholic, maybe I got a problem. I don't want to look at that. So instead of them going, maybe I got a problem, they look at me and say, you don't have a problem. Come on, man, you can have a beer. You can have a beer. That's not my friend. If you care about me, you're going to go, the proper response to that is, I'm not drinking anymore. Oh, thank God. Thank God. You were so hard to be with. You were so unpredictable. You were so fill in the blank. So glad you're not drinking anymore. Sometimes I say, what are you doing to not drink? Then you can tell them a little bit about that if you want. But that's a normal reaction of a friend. Oh, thank God. We knew you were weird. We didn't exactly know why. Well, that's because when we were drinking, I was going to the bathroom 3 times an hour, getting 2 doubles. on the way in and out of the bathroom because I couldn't stand drinking as slow as you drank. Oh, I didn't know that. Of course you didn't know that. Of course you didn't. While you were drinking, you were withdrawing from life little by little. Now you're getting back into the social life of this world. Don't start to withdraw again just because your friends drink liquor. But one of the things you'll also notice is that your friends are going to change. The guys I ran with when I was drinking and doing the other things I was doing are not the guys I run with today. I didn't make a conscious decision, I'm getting rid of all my friends. That would have felt like an awful thing to do. But we have examples of what your friends can do for you. Michael Vick's having an experience of that right now. All his buddies turned state's evidence. They just sold him out right away. Those are not your friends. Your friends are the guys that will answer the phone at 3 in the morning to come bail you out. That might be a friend. Or a friend might be, I'm locked up again. What happened? I was drinking. I got a disorderly. Oh, really? Will you come and help me? No. That's a friend too. I've had guys call me that had disappeared and they call me from jail. I get a long distance collect call. Okay. Who is it? Hi. What you doing? I'm in jail. My response is always the same. Good. What did you do? This is what I did. Good. What do you mean, good? I said, well, now you can't be out on the street running over one of my kids, or one of my friends, or me, or someone else, or someone's grandpa. You're just where you need to be. You're safe. Click. Asshole. But it's the truth. It's the truth. Good. You're right where you need to be because you earned your way there. It wasn't bad breaks and misunderstanding. You earned your way there. And that's a safe place for you. If you can get sober now, fine. You got a break point. But you've also got a consequence. And I'm not going to interfere with your consequence. Then you don't learn. It's not the mistake that is the lesson. It's learning from the consequence of the mistake. If I can learn from the consequences of my mistake, I've got the lesson. If I don't, I just keep doing the same thing over and over, telling myself it's something different, and I keep getting the consequences. So your job now is to be at the place where you can be of maximum helpfulness to others. So never hesitate to go anywhere if you can be helpful. So the question is, how will you be helpful? To relieve someone's sexual tension is not necessarily being helpful. We need to have some in-depth conversations, especially early in sobriety. You should not hesitate to visit the most sordid spot on earth on such an errand. Keep on the firing life with these motives, and God will keep you unharmed. That does not mean when I'm doing 12-step work that I'm bulletproof. Go anywhere. The most sordid spot on earth. Keep on the firing line with these motives, and God will keep you unharmed. It doesn't mean you're bulletproof. When I get a call for help and it's 3rd and Franklin, I'll go with the guy. I'll go with the guy, and if I come in and the situation isn't right, I will not go in. I've come into places where a guy called, help, I want to stop drinking, and I walk in and there's a bottle of whiskey and a revolver on the table. Huh. Did you call AA? Are you from AA? I've been waiting for you. Load and lock. Yeah. No. There's a friend of mine who sponsored Sherry Carpenter, got killed doing that. And it was a guy they'd been working with. That was a chronic relapser. And he took a shotgun blast in the belly from about 3 feet away. This kid was in a blackout. So it doesn't mean we're bulletproof. To keep on the firing line of life means keep being willing to be helpful and useful, guided by God, and you'll be unharmed. I will be safe from the thought of drinking, not bulletproof or knife-proof. Just because I found this power and I got some recovery doesn't mean I can go into any neighborhood in town and talk truth to some guy and be okay. Many of us keep liquor in our homes. We often need it to carry green recruits through a severe hangover. I've also found it a good stimulus for doing the steps. Some of us still serve it to our friends, provided they're not alcoholic. But some of us think we should not serve liquor to anyone. We never argue this question. Alcoholics Anonymous doesn't argue the question. We feel each family, each person, you, in the light of your own circumstances, ought to decide for yourself. Let's look at this. The use of alcohol in the home. I lived with a woman for 12 years who was a non-alcoholic. We had friends who drank. We had a college-age daughter who drank. And I didn't have a problem being around alcohol. It's not a big deal to me. I also found it was interesting. I worked with guys down in the basement that weren't powerless. And that's why they didn't want to do the steps. And I'd say, fine. And we'd have the discussions. And sometimes I'd get frustrated. I'd say, come up. And we had this kitchen counter, kind of a eating bar thing. And I'd sit them down at the counter, and I'd get out my bottle of whiskey. And I'd put it on the counter. I'd say, there you go. I'll pour you the first one. What are you talking about? I said, well, you're not an alcoholic. You don't need to do the steps. You might as well have a drink. I assume you're pretty thirsty. And they look at you like, you're crazy. Oh, am I? You just told me downstairs you don't need to do this shit because you don't think you're an alcoholic. Here's the alcohol. Have a drink. Oh, you're nuts. Every time I drink, I have a problem. Oh. Well, then let's go downstairs again. Now you know because you got reminded. So I've used alcohol that way. It's worked really effectively. I've never had a guy take a drink yet. Usually on the way home, they take the drink. They won't do it with me or in front of me. But this thing about liquor in our home. So we had booze in our house. Not a big deal. And one weekend, our daughter was coming home from college, and there was a rugby tournament. Rugby is a synonym for drinking team in college, if you don't have any college kids. And she was on the rugby team. Could the team stay at the house? We had a pretty big house, and it was summer. They were going to sleep in the living room and the dining room and the deck. I said, fine, sure. Get up in the morning. The deck is covered with empty beer cans and whiskey bottles. I mean, these girls drank some shit. And we had two kids that were 12 and 14 at the time. So we sat down with her after that and said, you know what? We're not going to be having the rugby team at the house anymore, and you're not going to be drinking like that in the house. You can drink like that at college. You can drink it that out, but that's not the kind of drinking we want going on in our house. So we changed the rule. So we don't have any booze in the house then. You don't have any booze in our house, that's for sure. So you need to be able to adjust that according to the family's needs. Everyone doesn't have to get sober because I did. But at the same time, I'm not going to have a friend over who gets sloppy drunk and offends me or hits on my wife or behaves poorly. We're not going to do that either. So you work it out. You work it out. We're careful never to show intolerance or hatred of drinking as an institution. Why? Because the guy you're talking to loves drinking. It's the only thing he's got going in his life. He doesn't want to hear you be an evangelist about not drinking and hating drinking. I'll tell you to this day, I love drinking. I love the taste. I love the atmosphere. I love the stinking bars. I love the cigarette smoke and the beer smell. I loved it all. I loved the trashy women. I loved the crappy red upholstery. I loved it all. And I loved what it did for me. And if it still did it, I'd still be doing it. But it didn't. It quit. So, I got no problem with drinking. I understand why you drink. I understand the whole deal. I love that. Love that. Love it. In fact, alcohol was probably the best friend I ever had because it kept me alive long enough to get here. Without alcohol, I wouldn't have made it. I'd have been a teen suicide for sure. For sure. Because I just could barely stand it on the planet Earth with the alcohol. Without it, there'd have been nothing to tolerate it. So, don't criticize, don't show any hatred of the institution. Experience shows that such an attitude, an approach, they use that word a lot, is not helpful to anyone. Every new alcoholic looks for this spirit among us and is immensely relieved when he finds we're not witch burners. Spirit of intolerance might repel alcoholics whose lives could have been saved had it not been for such stupidity. I'm not here to tell you drinking's a bad thing. I'm here to tell you what drinking did for me and to me. That's what I'm here to do. You decide what it's doing for you or to you. We would not even do the cause of temperate drinking any good. Not one drinker in 1,000 likes to be told anything about alcohol by one who hates it. That's why we start with, This is what it was like. This is what I was like. And we share some of the old drinking days. That's why. So he can see, first identify, but he can also see, oh, not such a bad guy. He did some crazy things too. Oh, well. And the defenses start to come down a little bit. Someday we hope that Alcoholics Anonymous will help the public to a better realization of the gravity of the alcoholic problem. That dream came true. But we shall be of little use if our attitude, if our approach is one of bitterness or hostility. Drinkers will not stand for it. We don't like to be told anything. We don't like to be talked to about our drinking, but we don't like to be told anything. Turn right. I don't want to. Stop up here. I don't want to. Go here, go there. No. I will when I'm ready. After all, our problems were of our own making. Stems out of my thinking. Stems out of my consciousness. I act out of what I be. Bottles were only a symbol. Besides, we've stopped fighting anybody or anything. We have to. So have I stopped fighting? Have I surrendered? Have I had this experience? So, we're done. Any questions? Now just think of all the extra time you have for your chores. Isn't that nice? And you got time to meditate out there in your talking circle with your cigarette? It's a good thing. Thanks for your attention. Good luck. Bye-bye.